So let's see. There is a professor of communication studies at the University of Kansas, Jeffrey Hall, set out to find the answers to these questions. The formula to make a friend seems simple. Meet a lot of people, find someone you like, spend time together to foster a bond. But how much time, and what's the best way to spend it? So Mr. Hall looked, I guess Dr. Hall, because they're a professor, excuse me, went to go and find out those answers. The research of friendships for over a decade, how non-kin and non-romantic relationships are vital to your happiness and health. Study after study has pointed out that having friends and people that you can rely on is important for social support, health, longevity, well-being, and all things we want out of life. Yet people don't prioritize their friendships. A lot of times our focus is on work and immediate family. This study was published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, and there was a survey response of 355 adults who recently moved and were getting to know a new acquaintance. They described how much time that they spent with this new person, how they spent those hours together, and how they felt, how close they felt over time. And then Hall also asked 112 freshman students at a university who just moved to this college town similar questions about 2 new acquaintances and followed up over several weeks to see if they became friends. So, how long does it take to make a friend? The precise numbers, I mean, it's not for everyone. It's not like exact, like, hello, we've spent this many hours together. How are we not friends now? But generally, it's possible to know someone for years and not really compelled to be friends. You're friendly, you're acquaintances, you'll hang out with each other and stuff, but you don't like share like deep dark secrets or your worries, your fears, your aspirations, like the really nitty-gritty stuff. We usually save that for our immediate family, our significant other, or like our best friend or so. But having all these different types of friendships where you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to Chicago and I have a few friends. I can like text them really quick. Hey, what are you doing tonight? What are you doing tomorrow morning? And hang out with them. Those are friendships too. Like friendships don't always have to be like this deep, like Stranger Things bond where you like go through supernatural things together and like you've come out and you're like soulmates, friend mates for life. Like a casual friend is just pretty good too. So it takes about 40 to 60 hours of time spent together in the first few weeks after meeting people to form a casual friendship. To transform into a casual friendship to a friend takes about 80 to 100 hours of together time. To become good or best friends, it takes 200 or more hours spent together. And different stages of a person's life requires more or less time investment. Single young adult form friendships faster than a married middle-aged person for the most part, but it's not fully explored within Hall's study. But that's where like the inklings of what they've saw, but that wasn't what they were exactly measuring. So that's something that someone can add on to this study in the future and look deeper into that aspect of friendships. Hours spent together strongly predicts friendship closeness, but not if that time is spent at work or in a classroom, places where people weren't interacting with each other by a choice. And the best way to spend time seemed to be just hanging out together, watching TV, playing video games together. People became closer by doing activities that they already like and enjoying the other person's company at the same time. And time spent talking didn't really make people feel more close. Chatting was better to start the connection, and catching up with friends, asking how their day is going and joking around. Small talk. So that's like deeper talk than small talk. Small talk is like, how's the weather? And, oh, did you see the Knicks game last night? It's the enemy of friendship. People who just talk about mundane topics with each other become less close of friends over time. And humans are social animals, and many of us struggle with loneliness. The number of Americans who say that they have no close friends tripled in the recent decades. And when they asked how many confidants they had to discuss important matters with, was 0. And while people on average have about 150 Facebook friends, they can only rely on 4 when they have a crisis. So Hall offered these tips to cultivate friendships. Go out and mingle. You have to go through the trouble of actually meeting people to make friends. What are your hobbies? Are there any meetup groups about that hobby? Is there a local community college where you could take night classes just for fun? Seek out people with the same interests in places where they gather. And try a relationship in a completely new context. So get to know the person outside the environment in which you met. So if you met a work friend, you really hit it off in the lunchroom, you make jokes like over Slack or like, Messenger or whatever, invite them to go to lunch outside of the office or hang out after hours. Or let's say you have a gym buddy and you're spotting each other for weights and you look out for each other and everything. You say, hey, you did great today. Invite them to do something like, oh, I have a soccer game. Are you into soccer? Do you want to do that with me? Or do you want to go on a hike? Do you want to go on a bike ride? Something that's similar to what you are already doing, but get it out of that first environment. And the shift of a new location offers a new opportunity to develop that relationship and develop closer bonds. And just giving a mere invitation signals that you're interested in a heavier relationship, in a friendship with someone. And make time with your friends a priority. If you don't find time to spend with your friends, it's not going to happen. And just like The Sims, your friendship will slowly deteriorate, or not deteriorate, that seems really negative, but just slowly decay over time. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Relationships always ebb and flow. And it's important to realize that usually once you've gotten to the good friends stage, where you hang out outside of classrooms or outside of work, or you both don't work that same job anymore, but you go get coffee once in a while, that it might not seem like you're very close because you're not spending 40 hours a week together, in the class or the workplace or something, but time spent isn't necessarily mean that it's quality time spent. So when they say make it a priority, it's not oh, I only have 6 hours of free time on the weeknights or whatever, which is a really huge amount. So, okay, I need to get dinner, I need to go to the gym, I need to spend time with my significant other or my kids or whatever, I want to stream. Okay, I have half an hour. That's not really enough time to be able to do anything with someone, but reach out to your friend. Hey, how was that big project you were talking about last month? Or, hey, I know you're still struggling with finding a job. Is there anything I could do? Do you want me to help you look at your resume this weekend? That's the type of priority that they're talking about. They're not necessarily saying, drop everything and you have to spend quantity time with someone. So that's the gist of how to make a friend and the how long it takes to really cement a bond. So a lot of the people that Jeff and I hung out with in college, we still talk to them to this day. So Optimistic Gamer is one of them, and then we have about 2 or 3 others that we talk to on a semi-regular basis. Dalius, you are absolutely right. Thank you for noticing. And yeah, friendships absolutely can be different too, Sparks. And in Night in the Woods, it's the best available friend that you have around. And so just because you were friends when you were in childhood together or you were in college together doesn't necessarily mean that that relationship will survive outside of another context. So you don't live in the same hometown anymore, and the reason that you were friends is because there was only one playground and we hung out there all the time. And then, oh, let's meet up, we're adults now, we both happen to be visiting our parents at the same time, and then you're oh, we really don't have anything in common 10 years later. We're on completely different life trajectories and paths, and it's okay to be able to move on and realize that not every relationship or friendship is going to stay within your life for the rest of eternity. Hi, Snafu, how are you doing? How you doing, Kel? You know, I thought Fortnite was back up. I don't understand why there's so many trolls all of a sudden. You doing fucking epic, fam? Fuck yeah, bud. Good for you. It's hard to make friends because if you think about as a young adult or like getting into adulthood, and some people feel like, oh, I don't have any friends, or, you know, the only friends I have are really the ones that are at work or something. And once I leave that job, because I've noticed like, oh, I left a job once and then I don't talk to my old coworkers at all anymore, but we used to be so close or something. I don't have any friends. It's because when we were children, like for the most part, I mean, some people moved around. I moved around a lot. So you would go into kindergarten all the way to senior year of high school with about the same amount of people. And so that like makes a really strong bond